Ms Tineke Strik, welcome to our Parliamentary Assembly Mediabox platform. You have a report on refugees at risk in Greece and adopted in the Parliamentary Assembly session yesterday. So let's start with the main objective of the report.
The objective of the report was to show the people what are the circumstances now where the refugees are in Greece, because as you know the border was suddenly closed in February before many people arrived from Turkey in Greece, but they could travel onward to Northern Europe. But because of the closure, suddenly 50,000-60,000 refugees became stranded in Greece, but at that moment there were no reception facilities, there was hardly any asylum system in place. So we wanted to see what's the situation now. Is it doable for people? Is it a humanitarian situation or is it a humanitarian crisis? So we went to all the different camps. And we went also to the hotspot on the Lesbos island, where people are assessed in order to see if they can be returned to Turkey. And this is what the whole report describes, what the situation is.
So what is the situation now in Greece?
Well, we were quite impressed about the awful circumstances that the people are in. There are many camps. I mean, the Greek government did a really big efforts and they succeeded in organizing camps for everyone. But these are all emergency facilities. I mean, it's also very difficult in 2 months to do that for 60,000 people, of course. But it's really, if you imagine that you would be there with your children, you would immediately say this is unacceptable. And so the circumstances have to be improved very quickly, but at the same time also people are waiting, don't know what the future is. And I met many family members of refugees who are already residing in the north of Europe. Actually, they are entitled to go to their family members in the north of Europe, but they need to be registered. They need to be able to ask for asylum, and then things can happen. So there must be a tremendous organization immediately now in order to make sure that people can ask for asylum. Another element which we emphasized in the report is that the European member states last year promised to relocate, to transfer 60,000 refugees in Greece. Now we have these 60,000 refugees in Greece, but until now only 1,600 of them have been transferred. So we urge upon all the European states to immediately live up with their agreement to transfer these people so that they can become in better circumstances elsewhere.
So actually when we discuss the refugee issue, it's important to mention always the Turkey-EU agreement that you also mentioned in your report, and you have some critics on the report as on the agreement as well. So could you please clarify it now in our platform? What should I have done more, or in which points you have some critics and you see that it's a challenge to have this agreement for refugees?
Yeah, in the end of this resolution also we urge the member states to reconsider the whole agreement, because there are so many human rights issues involved in that agreement, because we don't know if people are protected sufficiently once they are returned to Turkey, because there's no asylum procedure really taking place in Turkey, and some people are reported to have been sent back to their country. What would be the alternative? I think what we could do much more than we do now is invest in the regions where the most of the refugees stay, in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Turkey, but also in African countries. Make sure that refugees, most of the time, they want to stay close to their home country. But if the circumstances are below the poverty level, people decide to travel further. So we need to invest a lot more, and people have access to the labor market over there, access to education. That's what we have to do in the first place. In the second place, we need to resettle, invite many more refugees from these areas to our home countries so that they can travel safely and legally to our countries and are not depending on smugglers. And at the same time, we relieve the pressure on these neighboring countries. We need to come to a fair sharing of the responsibility. If we do not do that, people will be forced to travel illegally and in a dangerous way to safer places elsewhere.
Keeping in mind that maybe it's not the refugee crisis and refugee issue, before it's a fundamental human rights issue,
yes.
So in which you also mentioned in the report. So thank you for joining us, Ms Tineke Strik.
Thank you.
Thank you.